So, Happy New Year, everybody, and welcome to our first podcast of 2021.
Inspire, connect,
resource, growing healthy churches
is in relationship for God's mission.
So, welcome to our first podcast for 2021, and we're going to just spend some time reflecting on what Christmas has been like for us, and maybe a little bit of empathy and sympathy, as this year hasn't got off to it's got off to a rocky start, hasn't it? And I think we're going to touch base about the conference as well, which we're really looking forward to in February, although obviously it's going to look different this year. So, Joff, let's start with you. What was Christmas like for you?
Yeah, Christmas was what it was, really. It was very different. It was just the three of us. As I said in the last podcast, we had beef Wellington. I actually cooked the beef Wellington myself. I went down to the butcher and asked for a beef Wellington, and he just gave me the meat. So I suddenly realised I had to do all the wrapping around the mushrooms and chestnuts and all that kind of thing. Although it was great until my wife nearly burnt it by putting the grill on rather than the oven. But once we got through that little section, we had a great time. What about you, Amy? Did it go well? Because I know you were with Neil, weren't you?
Yes, we actually had my dad over in the end on Christmas Day, which was really nice to see him. We were a bit shocked before Christmas because we discovered that the turkey that Neil had ordered from the local butcher that he'd put a £20 deposit on actually cost £100 in total. So that was a bit of a shock when we had to pay the deposit, but it was still a really delicious turkey, and we had lots of leftovers, some of which are in the freezer. So yeah, it was a good but expensive Christmas.
Colin, yours was quite eventful, wasn't it?
It was quite eventful in the sense that we weren't able to go out once we got beyond Christmas Day because my granddaughter and the family all developed COVID-19. I'm thankful to say they're doing okay, but it meant that we had to stick in the house. So actually Christmas Day was brilliant because an unexpected present we didn't realise was going to be important was that we did go out and have a walk after lunch, and we didn't realise that was going to be the last one for some while. It was a tiny taste of what many people have had sometimes for weeks and months on end. So it was important.
And Dave, did you manage to get to the Welsh borders?
Yeah, we drove through many a flooded road to get there, and as you know, for various reasons, it was a different Christmas for us this year, and a much shorter one. So we actually came back first thing Christmas morning, so a bit different this year.
I was thinking Christmas felt like obviously it was just very different, and but it was a lot of walking. So I've done a lot of walks each day, meeting up with one person. So lots of walking and talking, which I really enjoyed actually. I would normally do like maybe one walk over the Christmas period, but this was practically every day going out. So that was really, really lovely.
Did you have a favourite present, Claire?
Well, actually, I got a pair of walking boots, and which I'm quite chuffed with. I cleaned them yesterday. I felt very adult doing that, and they're very muddy. And my husband bought me membership. I am sounding so middle aged. I like my walking boots, and I got membership for the gardens and the like Wisley and all those places. Basically, I'm in my 40s and I'm just embracing it. Okay.
Nothing. Don't be embarrassed about that.
Wonderful.
Yeah. What about you, Dave?
Well, we had a very exciting hamper actually from one of our children, and as I kept digging into this hamper, there were more and more chocolates. So it was just a very, very significant moment for me. Quite exciting.
I just had a Zoom moment then. I thought you said hamster then.
Our kids clubbed together and gave us a splendid coffee machine. So it's working out how to use it. I've just about managed that. But there's about 20 different varieties, and each variety comes in 3 different sizes. So it's a real challenge to work out which ones we're going to stick with, because when you start with it, it gives you lots of choices. So at the moment, it's coming in brilliant. If we're stuck in, then to have all these different coffees to look at in your own home is great.
I'm a massive Quentin Blake fan, And Neil got me a signed Quentin Blake picture of an owl, which is really lovely, which will go up on my office wall. So that was really nice. And
one of my favourite presents is this. It's a huge bag of Turkish Delight.
oh,
It's a Marmite thing, isn't it? Turkish Delight.
Is,
People either love it or hate it. And my niece bought me this, and it's really heavy, and it's just packed full of Turkish Delight. Absolutely delicious. So I think we came back to work at the beginning of the week, into the new year, and surprise, surprise, I don't think we're in lockdown. So what are people's reflections as we go into that? And have you got any just thoughts for people how to manage these next few weeks as we go forward?
well, I've actually been shielding since midnight on Christmas Day, so I haven't been out of the house since then. And I imagine there's sort of quite a few people in our association where similar, that they're just not allowed outside the house. And it's a really difficult thing to do, especially as the week leading up to Christmas, I was running errands and seeing people, and then suddenly that's all stopped. So it's a case of taking each day in its stride, and it's difficult because it's the winter months. So when we were in lockdown in the summer, I could go and sit out in the garden and read in the evening, which we're not able to do. So I'm sort of trying to find things to do in the evening to keep myself occupied. And I got some books for Christmas, so I've got things to read, but it's particularly difficult in the winter months, I think.
My sense is, having come close, it was a mini miracle that my wife and I didn't get COVID-19 ourselves, because 2 days before our granddaughter, who we offer childcare to, 2 days before Christmas, we were with her, and she developed symptoms on Christmas Day. So we still haven't worked out how it is that we didn't get it. But I think that it means that, and as we hear of other people that are struggling massively actually getting COVID-19, and just the sheer danger that there can be in it, even if someone else could get no symptoms or mild symptoms, it's just reminded me of the fact that we're reminded again to take care of each other. And some of you know that one of the themes that really matters to me is just the kindness of God, and from that, our kindness to each other. And I think we're in a fresh season of needing to be kind to one another and not to drive each other at this time. So that's and that can be expressed through a phone call or a text or any number of ways. So that would be my own perspective at this time. There's that sense of being supported by one another.
I think I thought the announcement from the BU was really helpful. And for people to just to be careful, really, to look out for one another, and not to have a sense of pressure that they have to have this physical meeting. We know why that's important, but we also know why it's important to actually look after and protect one another as well.
I know there's some real pressure for churches, maybe from the congregation, to open up, but I really love that sense of standing in solidarity with your kind of community and recognising it's not choices, how people are having to live. And I think for churches to be able to walk with people in that rather than trying to do something different, I think the standing in solidarity is really, really important. And I think I was in a meeting and someone sort of said it's part of our mission. It's an expression of our mission. It's not just something we have to do or should do. It's actually who we are in terms of as a missional kind of communities and as churches. And so I think to have it put into that context is really important too.
It's difficult for people, isn't it, from beyond faith communities to see listed each time, the exception being communal worship. And even though we understand all the care that's taken within those meetings, actually for someone outside, all they see is that people of faith are able to still meet. And it looks like it could be in quite large numbers, because it's not always in the headline. You don't see anything else, but just communal worship is permitted. And I think that's the bit where people say, well, why is that can happen? So your point, Claire, about identifying with our communities at this time, and we pray and hope only for a few months, is so important.
And there is hope, isn't there? If this time last year we were going into quite a dark tunnel, but there is a light at the end of this tunnel, and we can look forward to that. And it's great to just be hearing the numbers of those who've been vaccinated going up each day now. You're hopeful, Dave?
Oh, I think it's a game changer, isn't it? I think the news and especially with this latest vaccine that's available, which can be delivered more easily to people in different places because of it's easier to transport and to maintain. That really is a game changer for people, and for people who are particularly vulnerable to know that they're going to be receiving this within the coming weeks. That must bring huge hope and real light in what is a very dark period.
My husband was looking at last night, and I'm in category 4 for the list of vaccinations. So I wait to hear when I will get one. So I'm obviously not really high up because they're the NHS workers and care homes and the elderly are higher up, which I think is right. But there is hope. There is a lot of hope, and I'm so grateful for all those scientists and medics out there that have been working on this relentlessly. So yes, there is much hope.
Getting out and about and seeing people is what I'm looking forward to, and I long to be in the presence of others and to be able to worship God together. That's deep inside my heart. But this is, I think God has been teaching us much about patience over this period of time, and we need to embrace that and endure with it. I think the Greek word is more about forbearance, and it's not just forbearance with people, it's forbearance within the seasons that we face. And it's okay to forbear because God is greater than these things, and he will bring us through them in his timing.
I think it's important to recognise and realise that God hasn't been still or silent. He hasn't been put on pause. And I was reading, I think it was in The Guardian or something like that. I'll give away my political bias there maybe, but that actually there's an openness to faith, and that more people, and there's something they can dip into it more because of the platforms that we're using. And it was a really, really interesting article, and I just love that people's hearts are being softened, are being stirred, and it's unfortunate circumstances, but God is still at work, isn't he? And that's always a hope, and hopeful brings hope to me.
I love the fact that it's out of the desert that John the Baptist begins to prepare the way for the good news. So the beginning of Mark 1. And so it's the desert, which is the place out of which the good news and the fresh ways come and the light emerges. So that encourages me. Desert, exile, darkness, whatever the image is, all words we could use of now.
So we got about 6 weeks probably of lockdown. Who knows? It may be even longer than that. But, within that time, or at the end of that time, our plan is to gather together with as many around the SCBA leaders and those that are serving in our churches for our leaders conference, which is going to look very different, isn't it? No hotel this year, Amy, I understand.
No, and you don't get to see me as you walk through the door. I mean, I think that's just what the whole of conference is about, isn't it?
Absolutely.
That's why they sign up. Amy.
Yeah, that's why they sign up, just to come and see me. That's it.
Well, it's going to be different, isn't it? And of course, we're going to miss that wonderful setting over in Cheltenham. But I love any opportunity we have to get together, even if it's in this sort of virtual way. Bringing people together has just got to be a good thing. And I love the way that we've tried to put different elements into the programme. Some where we'll be able to listen. We'll talk a bit more about that in a bit, I'm sure. But other times where we're going to be encouraged to just take some space ourselves. And I think any time then where we can be encouraged to do that has just got to be a good thing.
So, Colin, what is the main kind of theme of the day, of the conference, the 3 days together?
Well, it's a bit of a corny theme in the sense that, and I'm fully to blame for that, but it's building a healthy lead, which is not about getting ahead of other people or being competitive. It's actually about what sort of things can we have in the conference that help us to do leadership and ministry in a sustainable way. So everything that we've got there, although they're different things, all lead to that.
So we've got 3 different days, and they're all going to feel a little bit different, but kind of connect into that healthy leadership. So Claire, just give us an idea of what's happening on Monday as we kind of kick off the conference together.
Sure, I'm so excited that we've got Ray from Transforming Lives for Good, TLG, coming, and it's for all of our ministers and all of our leaders, and we've already got loads signed up, which is wonderful. But what's also really great about having the conference like this is that we've had people who would not normally access the conference. So we've got people from pastoral care teams, and maybe some of the CYF workers who might not necessarily come to the conference have joined us as well. So we'll be like one big eclectic family with all of our different kinds of specialisms and different roles that we have. And so that's really awesome. So if you haven't signed up for that, I'd really encourage you to do so you can be part of the happy family. And what she's going to be kind of looking at is it's called emotional roller coaster training. And so we'll touch base on our own self-awareness around our own emotions, which is always really good, isn't it, to make sure that we're kind of checking in with ourselves in that way. But then actually there's a toolkit that she'll be working giving us, but also teaching us about, which is a way of working with people.
And presumably, Claire, actually, this by definition means that you have to understand yourself a bit better and what hooks you and triggers you and all those things. And at the moment, a lot of us are finding that in this current situation, all sorts of emotions are being triggered, and we're becoming a bit, sort of rather surprised by that. But this will help with that as well, presumably, will it?
Yeah, so there'll be space definitely for that kind of self-reflection. There's going to be breakout groups, and we're going to kind of put people in with their sort of peers so that there'll be a chance for you to reflect a bit deeper together.
So Tuesday is going to feel quite different again.
Well, Tuesday is going to be a sort of a gift that it's difficult to give yourself very easily, which is Beth Powney, who's the team leader for Eastern Baptist Association, is going to come and start the day with some introductory thoughts, some reflection, to help us to then use our own space for a few hours where we go where we want to and use the time the way we choose to before God until we gather again at the end of the day just for half an hour. So half an hour at the beginning, half an hour at the end, all finishes by 2:30, and the gift of our own quiet space before God. But here's the big thing. When you're held, because you, as it were, are journeying with others in that situation, when you're held by a light structure, it helps you to, as it were, intentionally connect with God and use the time much better than if you just go off by yourself and there's no structure or no sense that you're joining with others in doing the same thing. So I think Beth's going to be brilliant. She leads a number of quiet days for us around the Baptist Union, and she's going to be terrific in leading that. So really, really looking forward to that. And the great thing is, I used to lead retreats myself, and I always used to say to people, God will honour the fact that you've set aside this time. God can be trusted to meet you. So don't try too hard. Just trust that in the time, God will wave at you.
And Wednesday, Dave, is a bit of a smorgasbord of different people taking part in the day. Tim Ferguson's going to join us about CMD, which is a key aspect to how we might minister in the future.
Yeah, just delighted about that. And I think any encouragement that we get to just keep learning, to keep seeking, to keep thirsty for God has just got to be a great thing. And also this encouragement, which is, I think it's part of the fabric actually of SCBA, as I've come into SCBA 3 years ago, of the emphasis that we have here in terms of mentoring. I think this just reinforces something that's already weaved into the fabric of SCBA life, of encouraging us to come alongside another person or other people, so we can be accountable. Yes, accountability I think is really important, but more importantly from that is growing together on purpose. And all of us here will know the different pressures on us, and actually having a framework that is encouraging you to keep learning, keep striving. It's just got to be a great thing.
And as I guess the TLG stuff will be part of that kind of development, isn't it, in that way? So like we're already putting things in place. I know there's other opportunities as well, but for people to kind of be learning and being on that journey. So it's great that we're able to kind of be able to provide that, I think.
I think two essential things, isn't it, about emotional intelligence, which is absolutely crucial. Many of us don't think about that. They don't think about our emotional intelligence, but alongside, continued knowledge and growing in understanding. These two things kind of connect together and make us much stronger, healthier. A healthy lead.
Yeah. See what you did there, John?
Did you see what I did there? Oh, BMS are joining us as well, aren't they? I love BMS. They do such a great work.
They're taking one of their major emphases on emerging leaders. So again, it fits well with what we're trying to do. But it would just be great to hear some more about the vision, some practical examples of what they're up to, but also to pray for them.
And Amy, communion.
I mean, that's always a special time at the ministers' conference as we share together in communion. I mean, again, it will be very different this time. And I think, when you don't fellowship together, that's something I've really missed about not actually going physically to church, is the communion and doing it online by yourself. But I think it will still be a really special time to be able to join together in communion.
Well, it's been great sharing with you again as we begin this new year. We are excited, as you can tell, about the conference that's coming up. Please book into that, and if you can book in as early as possible, that would be great. As we start during these difficult days of this new year, you are very much in our thoughts and in our prayers. We are here for you, but we will be particularly praying for you in this time of uncertainty. But also, as was shared earlier, we're just very conscious that our God is with us through these difficulties. He will strengthen us. His arms are all around us and underneath us. So God bless you.
Inspire, connect
Resource. Growing healthy churches.
is in relationship for God's mission.
Oh, sorry, have you stopped recording?
No, I haven't, because I always love these little bits.
Oh, okay.
You never know.
Talk for too long, so cut mine down, which I
Yeah, and me, do have a courageous red pen or whatever it is for videos.
because people don't need to know that I read The Guardian and that I'm left-leaning and pop my politics. It just came out my mouth.
Yes, they do.
And the jelly, that just came out my mouth as well. So like,
I love the jelly.
Yeah,
I like the jelly, but I was trying to. Where did the jelly come
and
from?
you cut out the bit where I said I'm the most important thing about the conference, because that's just. I don't know where that came from.
But it's true.